One of my biggest fears when they told me that I was terminal is that I was leaving people behind, and how are they going to cope without me? I saw a surgeon, I think it was a couple of weeks later, and he sat me down and he said, "Why do you think I've got you here today?" And I said, "Well, hopefully you're going to tell me you're going to remove this tumour." And he said, "No," he said, "unfortunately, we can't remove the tumour because you've got mets in your lungs, liver, and something on your kidneys that we're not sure about." In the back of my mind, I knew that I was going to be terminal. Sometimes I don't want to tell people. Sometimes I just want to pretend it's not happening and just go, yeah, it's okay, I'm fine. And when people say to you, they always say to you, "Oh, you look really well." And I always say, "But I'm not really well." And there's a lot of denial from their side of it. "Oh no, you're going to be fine. You'll be fine. You'll fight it. You'll get on." Well, I've been given a terminal diagnosis, so it's not going to end well. I know it's not going to end well. It's not going to end well the way I want it to end. But I've got the benefit of being able to deal with that. They could go out and get hit by a bus tomorrow. They're not going to be prepared for that. I'm prepared for what's going to happen to me, or not necessarily how it's going to happen, but I'm prepared. And one of the big things for me was I'm not owning their reactions. That's down to them. It's however they want to feel, they'll feel. For me, everybody will deal with it differently, but for me, it's not "you're so brave." I'm not brave. I'm dealing with what life's throwing at me. I'm not brave at all. I'd rather not be dealing with it. And when they say that you are, that frustrates me. And also when they tell me that, "Oh, you're going to be all right," I'm not going to be all right. Just be honest and just say, "Look, I'm really sorry." Because my reaction is, it's not your fault. You don't need to be sorry, but thanks. And ask questions. I always say to people, if you want to ask me anything about my diagnosis, I'm more than happy to talk about it, because I'd much rather save somebody else going through what I'm going through than them suffer and them have the symptoms that I've had. Although I've not had a lot of symptoms, I'd hate for anybody to have to go through what I'm going through. It was getting to the point where people were noticing the change in my appearance. I'd lost a lot of weight, and they'd started asking me questions, and I was getting to the point where I was having to tell so many people over and over again. When I put it on Twitter, because the majority of people that follow me on Twitter don't actually know me, it's completely different, and I seem to be gathering a following of other cancer patients or families of cancer patients. There's a lady that follows me on Twitter. Her husband has just been diagnosed with terminal cancer. So I see the opposite side of what I'm going through, because she posts about it. And she messaged me and she said, I like reading what you're putting. Probably "like" is not the best word, but I like reading what you're putting, because it makes me understand what my husband's going through more. And I said, well, vice versa, because I can see my husband's side of it from what you put on Twitter. And there's a lot of people that I've actually become friends with, and I've never even met them, just through posts on Twitter. And my Twitter posts are probably more emotive than my Facebook posts. And it is because it's more anonymous, because the people don't know me. I find being honest about what I'm going through is really cathartic, and the reaction I get from people, it does boost you quite a lot. It does help. It helps big time. Yeah. One of my biggest fears when they told me that I was terminal is is that I was leaving people behind, and how are they going to cope without me? And for my mindset as well, doing stuff like that, it means that it helps me get my head around the fact that it is going to happen. And I'm a list maker, so I like to be able to tick things off my list. And if I'm ticking things off my list, my head gets clearer. So yeah, it helps me focus. And it also means if I've dealt with all of those things, you know, all I've got to concentrate on now is you know, enjoying myself. You know, this quality of life time now. One of the big things is making a will. Both myself and my husband, we went and made a will. Because we've got no children, it's important to us to know what's going to happen after we're gone. And I've tried to do as much as I can administrative wise to make it easier for him when I have gone. As the time's gone on, there's things that I've thought about that I want including in my funeral. I picked the celebrant because it's somebody I've been to see, and music, and you know, things like that. And for my social media accounts, because they're so important to me now, I know there's going to be a time where I'm not going to be able to update them. So my two best friends, I've asked them if they'd take over my accounts for me, just to keep everybody up to date with where I am and how I'm feeling. Because, you know, there's that side of it that people need to see as well. You know, it's not all flowers and sunshine. You know, eventually it's going to get to the point where I'm not going to be able to do stuff like that. And I'd like the people that follow me on Twitter and Facebook to know that I am in decline, and they'll be updating it for me. So for me, it would be psychologically. I mean, you know, when it does happen, it's obviously it's not going to be the best thing in the world. It's going to be devastating for everybody around me. But I'd like to be at home if I can, with my family around me. I haven't got a massive family. My mum, I'd like my mum to be there. Obviously my husband. Yeah, it is important to tell the people around you what you want, because it makes it easier for them, rather than them having to make all the decisions and worrying about whether it's what you want or not. Just tell them what you want.